Yo, peeps keep bouncing from stuff because they freak out over failing, right? But what if they flip the script and peep the chances of crushing it in everything they try? More folks would leap in, take a swing, and switch up their vibes. That's our Prota, the dude who dropped the epic story, Raise the Slime starting from today. But let me spill the tea. He's kinda in a rough patch right now. So first off, his landlord booted him out and changed the locks just because he couldn't cough up the rent, no biggie. And now he's facing a future of camping on the streets. Oh, and his latest book? Total bust. No cash in sight. How's he gonna make it? Probably scrubbing dishes somewhere. Desperate times, he rolls the dice one last time. He hits up the lottery shop and grabs 5 tickets. Not really expecting much. But then he checks them out, and guess what? He sees percentages next to each ticket. At first he's like, nah, I'm tripping. Stayed up all night writing and now my brain's fried. But he's like, why not? He tests it, and boom, first ticket hits. He wins and feels a spark of hope. He snags more tickets and figures those percentages might actually mean something. So obviously, he buys even more. Among the tickets, 9 show 100% chances and 1 is a total 0. Prota, being Prota, decides to check out the 0% ticket just for kicks. And surprise, nothing comes up. Now he's convinced. He can really see the odds of winning. The shop owner, who thinks lottery is just a money pit, tells Prota to chill. But Prota totally tunes him out and keeps snagging tickets. The owner thinks, this dude's just tossing cash. But 10 minutes later, Prota's got $20,000 chilling in his pocket. The owner's like, what kind of crazy luck is this, bro? Prota starts trying to figure it all out. He gets that the odds are just about winning, but how much he could snag. That's still a mystery, you know? He thinks, man, it'd be dope to know if I'm cashing in $100 or something else. So he scoops up more tickets, and the shopkeeper's like, yo, you should chill, man. Your luck's gonna dip. But Prota, all chill like he's got it down, goes, no sweat. Today's my lucky day. Even if I bomb, it's just a donation to the cause. The store owner's about to pop a vein, just fed up watching Prota rake it in. And then bam, he wins 6 times straight. The store dude's mind is blown, can't grasp how it keeps happening. Then Prota figures out something big. The vibes he gets depend on the questions he throws out. If he spins them right and plays it smart, he can juice the situation and keep the wins rolling, totally pulling the wool over the old guy's eyes. The shopkeeper thinks Prota's streak won't last. He's like, your life's a hot mess, man. But now, with his new bag of tricks, Prota's living large. He's stoked, buys 20 more tickets. The old guy starts giving him a lecture about not getting cocky and turning into a luck junkie. But Prota's like, whatever. He's already scored $20,000. The next ticket he grabs, total dud. The old man's all hyped, but Prota just plays it cool, cause this is all part of the game plan. He keeps pulling out losers, and the shop owner's like, told ya, your luck's done for, and thinks he's seen it all. But what he doesn't get is Prota's been playing him the whole time. He even snagged a few tickets with a 1% chance on purpose, just to keep it all chill. Then the store guy, feeling himself, throws Prota $100 to chill out. Cause buddy, your odds are like 1 in 10, you know? Prota, totally sarcastic, says thanks and pretends like it's all cool. Until he scratches off another ticket. The shopkeeper gets all jittery thinking Prota's gonna snag $10,000. But nah, just $10. Little did he know Prota was on a hot streak, snagging wins left and right. The old dude thinks Prota's some kind of beast, but Prota plays it low-key, acting like he's clueless about the odds, even throwing up a prayer for a jackpot to keep it real. The old man's still vibing, convinced Prota's luck's gotta run out soon. But then bam, Prota scores $15,000. As he snatches the cash, he can't help but throw some shade. So, what was that about my luck now? The store dude finally gets it. He figures the win chances had been set by the factory, but Prota's out here winning way more than he should. Now he's just rubbing his hands, praying Prota keeps playing without tanking his biz. Prota peeps the remaining tickets and sees the odds tank from 30% to 5%. Time to bounce while he's ahead. The old man, desperate now, pleads him to keep going, but Prota's like, nah, I'm good, I'm chillin', and losing, even a bit, is still a loss, right? Better to play it smart. With the cash on deck, he starts daydreaming about using his skills for more than just the lotto. Then he glances at the door and wonders, what are the odds I open that door right now? Feels like 100%, but suddenly the chances drop. Just to play it safe, he takes a step back. Then, bam, a wild husky crashes in, smashing glass and almost bowling him over. Meanwhile, the store owner's looking super sketchy, realizing Prota bailed before the dog barged in. Now the old man's got some serious doubts. So, the main dude's looking around, realizes he's acting all shady and thinks, yo, How am I gonna convince this old guy I'm some kind of fortune teller? Odds? Hey, 50-50, right? But nah, he decides to jazz things up a bit. What if I tell him I come from a long line of fortune tellers? Boom, odds go up to like 64%. Still not great, but hey, worth a shot. So he spins this tale, shoots a message to the old guy like, hey, not just any fortune teller here, man. Dude says he's from some super exclusive elite fortune teller family from the Juo dynasty or whatever. Like 3,000 years of history behind it. Old guy's like, I only believe in science, bro. Never heard of your fancy dynasty. Sounds like a scam. But our guy, he ain't backing down. He's like, nah, bro, this dynasty's so underground, nobody knows about it. Too elite for the dynasties, that's why. Keeps spinning more wild stories. Says he left the shop feeling all sketchy. Checked his luck real quick and thought, dang, I might die. So he stepped back, just playing it safe. Now the old man's all like, master, please give me a reading. Throwing mad respect. But our dude's all chill, playing it cool, like, nah man, no need for payment, I deal in karma. You know how it is. So then the old man's like, can you check my finances though? My house is about to get demolished. Need to know what kind of payout I'm looking at. Our guy's like, all right, how much you think it's worth? Old man says, maybe $10,000 a square meter? So dude's like, okay, time to use my powers. Starts throwing out numbers like 2 million? Yeah, 100% chance. 3 mil? Still 100%. 4 million? We're good. But then he hits 5 million and the odds plummet to 10%. So the guy's like, all right, 4 million is your magic number. Old man, still a little sus, asks, you sure about that? And our guy's like, yeah, call him and check. And guess what? They offer him 4 mil, just like that. Old man's so hype, he offers our guy $300,000 as a thank you. And of course our guy's like, hell yeah, I'll take it. He leaves the shop feeling like a freaking king, thinking he's about to conquer the world with his new powers. As he's leaving, he spots that same husky from before just chillin'. And of course he's like, let me use my powers and see if this dog's got an owner. Turns out, yep, it does. Since the dogs brought him all this luck, he figures, why not help reunite them? But then he starts wondering what kind of life the owner's gotta have, trying to manage this wild dog. The dog bolts, and he chases after it. They end up in a park, and guess what? There's a hot girl taking selfies. Our guy's practically drooling, thinking, she's gotta be at least a 9. Things are looking up, and he wonders, what are the odds this girl owns the dog? 100%. Now he's excited cause, like, who'd expect the dog's owner to be a total smoke show? He thought he was just hustling the shop owner, but here he is, face to face with this babe. Meanwhile, she's just over there taking selfies like she didn't lose her dog. She turns, sees our guy with the husky and goes, hey, I have a dog just like this one. His name's Oreo. But girl's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. The dog's basically screaming, yo, it's me! And she's like, huh, his bark does sound kind of familiar. Our guy's losing patience and straight up tells her, this is your dog. And she's like, nah, Oreo's tied up over there. 5 minutes later, yeah, it takes that long. She finally realizes, oh wait, this is my dog. So naturally, she gives our guy her number, and now he's freaking pumped. He's never had a hottie like that in his contacts. Looking back, following that dog wasn't such a bad idea after all. But man, that husky's gotta be tearing up her house. Dude's checking out her photos like, yup, her place is probably a disaster. If that dog was his, the landlord would have tossed him out already. In fact, the landlord did toss him out. Changed the locks and everything to keep him from sneaking back in. Now he's got nowhere to crash. Before they part ways, she's like, you should stop renting and just buy your own place. Yeah, easy, right? And suddenly, our guy has a light bulb moment. He's thinking, with his new powers, why bother with rent? Buying a house? Piece of cake. That is, if he can get rich. But how though? That $300,000 ain't enough to ball out. So he needs to think fast on how to get more cash. Answer? Antiques. He heads to some antique fair, and it's loaded with all this fancy Han Dynasty jade, Tang Dynasty calligraphy. Basically the works. The place is packed with folks trying to offload their treasures. But our guy ain't dumb. He knows they see him as fresh meat, thinking they can rip him off. Some dude strolls up like, hey, I've got these priceless family heirlooms for sale. Our guy plays dumb, but inside, he's using his powers, feeling out the vibes. He knows with 100% certainty this guy's selling real stuff. But something feels off. Even though he's got the luck, he doesn't know jack about antiques. So he starts asking questions. What are the odds this stuff's worth more than 10 grand? 0. Same for 5 grand. Then he hits the real prices. The seller, thinking he's smart, tries to hype up his junk like it's worth millions. But our guy's like, "Nah man, this is trash," and dips. He sets his sights on something worth at least $10,000, walks by another seller and checks the odds. Still low. Then bam, he finds a piece with a 100% chance of being worth $500,000. Even though he doesn't know antiques from a hole in the ground, he's struck gold. He might be a newbie, but with his skills, he's already on track to become a high roller in the antique game. And this? It's just the start of his legend. So this seller's looking at Proda like, man, this kid's clueless. Just because something looks old doesn't mean it's the real deal. In the antique game, 9 out of 10 bronzes are fakes. He's already scheming on how to jack up the price, but Proda ain't stupid. He knows the guy's trying to pull a fast one, bump the price up, but he plays it cool. Ever since he got his powers, he's been feeling himself a little too much. The seller pulls out a porcelain vase and goes, "Yo, check this out. Antique collecting's all about having a good eye and that special connection. This vase, top tier, shiny as hell, and look at the shape. Hear that sound? And it's cheap, only $50,000. You're gonna make bank when you flip it." Proda stays chill but's like, "Yo, why hasn't this dude said anything about the piece I'm looking at?" He's already figured out the seller's clueless that the bronze goblet he's holding is worth at least $500,000. Proda, still keeping it together, is like, yeah, I get it. Antique collecting is serious. But nah, I ain't interested in that vase. He's really got his eye on that bronze goblet. Seller, trying to act smooth, says he copped the goblet back in his hometown. Price is $8,000. No haggling. Proda's trying not to lose his mind because he's about to scoop a goblet worth $500,000 for a measly $8,000. He's thinking, does this guy even know what he's holding? With his ability to see the odds, Proda knows the seller can't hide his thoughts. So, he plays the broke newbie act, thinking, what are the chances I can grab this thing for $2,000? Boom, 100%. He tries pushing for $2,000, maybe even $1,000, but decides not to get greedy. Offers $2,000. Seller hesitates, thinking he's getting ripped off. But Proda's like, hey, no big deal if you don't want to sell. So the guy caves. Proda walks out of there with the goblet for $2,000, feeling like he just pulled the heist of the century. Meanwhile, the seller's sitting there feeling all proud of himself, thinking he just pawned off some junk for way more than it's worth. He's bragging about selling an antique he basically got for peanuts. Even remembers some lady who dropped $9,000 on a wine jug the other day. Then the seller next door's like, hey, isn't that the chick from yesterday who dropped $9,000? She's probably coming back to cause a scene. As she walks up, the seller's ready, already saying, sorry lady, no refunds here. What you bought, you keep. But that's not why she's here. Turns out, she wants the bronze goblet Proda just snagged. And to make it worse, she's ready to drop up to $50,000 for it. That's when the seller realizes he just played himself hard. Then the lady starts throwing out higher offers for the goblet. $60,000? How about $70,000? Hell, let's make it $80,000. With each number, the seller's getting paler. He panics and throws out $100,000, hoping it'll scare her off. But nah, she's like, deal. And the guy's ready to pass out. Then his neighbor drops the bomb. That goblet you're after? Sold for $2,000. Now the seller's freaking out, trying to fix this mess. But then he sees Proda talking to some old dude who's offering $300,000 for the goblet. That's when he finally realizes how bad he screwed up. The lady's furious with Proda, but he's just there, cool as ice, negotiating like $300,000 is chump change. Every time the old man raises the offer, the seller's wishing he could crawl into a hole. The old man's losing patience goes, $400,000, that's my final offer. But Proda, knowing the guy's desperate, goes, how about $500,000 and we call it a friendship deal? And even after all that, the old man agrees. Now the crowd's feeling sorry for the seller, but they don't even know he's the one who sold it for peanuts. Dude looks like he's at his own funeral. Then the lady struts up, throwing $550,000 at Proda's face. Proda's no fool. He clocks right away that she's not only loaded but got that rich girl attitude. He's thinking, getting with a girl like this? Easy. But the lady catches him checking her out and finds it gross. She's only there because her granddad sent her. Otherwise, she wouldn't waste her time. Proda, knowing she's definitely buying the goblet, starts thinking of how he can squeeze even more cash out of her. And of course, he rubs it in the seller's face, letting him know how bad he messed up. Soon the lady and the old man are going head to head over the goblet. Proda, loving the drama, tells him to sort it out between themselves. The lady, smart as hell, catches on that he's just driving the price up. Before it gets too crazy, the old man's like, "Yo, you know a guy named Kyer?" Turns out Kyer's her granddad, and the old man's his friend. Everything clicks. She's only here to buy a gift for the old dude. In the end, Professor Lai Waigu, the old man, lets her finish the deal. She throws down 600K, and Prota's thinking, who needs love when I got this kind of cash? I'm basically the star of my own anime now. But before he bounces, Prota still asks for her number, using the excuse that if he finds more antiques, he'll hit her up. So Prota, trying to act smooth, starts chatting up the girl again, but she cuts him off real quick like, yo, stop acting like you're the oldest in the room. Prota's all suspicious now, so he uses his powers, checks the odds, and sees that there's 0 chance she's older than him. He's like, ha, this confident chick would make a great wife. Now that he's got these powers, he figures he can impress her. Turns out she's 20, just like him. But Prota ain't done snooping. He's a September 30th baby, so he starts calculating her birth month, figuring out she's younger because her birthday's not in the next 3 months. But here's the twist. They were both born on the same day. Only thing is, she was born 1 minute later. Prota's like, oh, I see. She's just messing with me, acting like she's older. Right as she's about to dip, he casually drops her birth date and age. She's shook but thinks it's a joke. So Prota lays down even more details, and now she's really stunned. People around them start whispering, thinking Prota's some kind of psychic or something. But of course, there's always that one guy like, yo, this dude's just creeping for her personal info. The girl's not buying it, so she tries to walk off. But then, Prota drops the ultimate bomb. He reveals the exact time she was born, down to the seconds. She's so rattled she calls her mom for backup. 3 minutes later, mom confirms everything. Still, the girl refuses to believe it's just a coincidence. She's thinking Prota's playing games with her. Loving the drama, Prota decides to stir the pot a little more. He's like, not all fortune tellers are fakes. Then, out of nowhere, he blurts out the color of her underwear. Now she's beet red, embarrassed out of her mind. And Prota, using his powers, figures out she doesn't have a boyfriend and, get this, she's never been in love. Even Prota's shocked by that one. The girl's so flustered she drags Prota off to the side and demands to know how he knows all this about her. With a shameless grin, Prota just says, oh, I just raised my finger and counted. Of course, she doesn't believe a word, but now she's a little impressed. Then Prota says he even knows where the 3 moles on her body are. After he gets her number, he goes, hey, if you ever need another antique or want to know your fortune, I'm your guy. He's feeling like some kind of guru, cracking secrets even she didn't know. But honestly, he didn't expect to be using his powers to dig into the life of such a hottie. Just then, Prota notices that old Waigu, the history professor, overheard the whole convo and might rat him out to the girl's granddad. Prota tries to predict if that'll happen, but now his powers are all scrambled, changing non-stop. He quickly realizes it's his interactions with Kim, the girl, that are screwing with his abilities. Thinking fast, Prota offers Kim a deal. Hey, for that $600,000, I'll throw in a bonus fortune reading. He hints that her secrets won't stay buried forever. And guess what? One's already out in the open. Kim freaks and chases after him. Prota decides to show off and predicts the exact moment her parents will call her. He texts her the time, nailing it within 5 minutes. Sure enough, her phone rings, and now Kim's scrambling to come up with a good excuse to avoid trouble. Meanwhile, Prota's loving the chaos, until he gets a call from his mom, telling him she's set up a blind date for him. He thinks about blowing it off, but in the end, he agrees, trying to be polite. He shows up early, not so blind to this date since he's already peeped her pics. But when he gets there, guess who's lurking? Kim, like some kind of stalker. And of course, the chance that Kim knows the other girl, Moo, 100%. The 2 girls start bickering, and suddenly Kim's crying, shooting death glares at Prota. Then Moo drops a bombshell, casually saying she thinks Prota's the one and is ready to lock things down, like right now. The whole restaurant goes silent. Kim's still bawling, and Prota's left standing there in the middle of this disaster. Moo, thinking he's mad at her, moves in closer and says she's dead serious. Next thing Prota knows, Moo's hugging him, and before he can even process it, they're kissing, right in front of Kim, who's frozen on the spot. After that, Moo's like, let's go meet my parents. Kim storms off, and Prota, still dazed from the kiss, realizes something ain't right with Moo. Using his powers, he figures out she's just using him to get rid of Kim. The kiss? She was just throwing it out there to make a point. But here's the kicker. Moo actually does want him to meet her parents, and the chances of it happening? 100%. Now Prota's thinking, whoa, she's taking this whole boyfriend thing way too seriously. Trying to get a grip on the situation, he goes to talk to her, but Moo flips the script. She's like, wait, you're the one who kissed me, and now you want to back out? Prota doesn't regret the kiss, but he hasn't even had the chance to say yes to all this. Now he's wondering what the hell Moo's really up to. So later on, Prota and Moo roll up to her folks' place, and guess what? Prota's gotta act like her boyfriend now. Why? 'Cause he's a softie and couldn't say no, so here he is, saving her skin. Ain't that something? First thing, Moo's mom is like, why didn't you tell us you had a man sooner? And her dad? Oh man, the way this dude looks at Prota is like he's about to stab him. No joke. So Moo starts spinning this wild tale, saying they've been together since high school, took a little study break, and boom, they're back now. Then her dad grabs Prota's arm like, we're gonna make you a real nice meal, but you know this is gonna be a whole thing. Before the food, though, they leave Prota and Moo alone. And when her dad dips, Prota's over here wondering, is she even their real kid? 'Cause these people are wild. And yeah, 100% she is. Her mom's itching to barge in with some fruit, but her dad's like, nah, leave 'em be. We're cooking up something special. Moo's all like, yo, first time my folks ever seen me with a dude, so they're hyped. Meanwhile, her parents are basically ear to the door, trying to catch every whisper. Her dad's even got a butcher knife ready like, one wrong move, buddy, and we're carving more than the turkey tonight. Prota? He's so lost, like, what even is this? He's thinking they gotta clear this mess up, so he gets close to Moo. No funny business, just talk, alright? He's trying to keep it cool, but Moo's like, nah, we gotta roll with this fake couple thing a bit longer. Prota, awkward as ever, suggests maybe they should keep it chill, but she's all, nah, I got this. And then, Prota's brain starts going places. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if she was actually my girl. So of course, he starts calculating the odds of holding her hand, hugging, maybe even a little smooch. To his shock, it's over 50% for all three. But hold up, he remembers she's just using him to keep her folks happy. Classic. He tries to hold her hand, but dude slips, makes a noise, and next thing you know, her dad busts in like the house is on fire, knife in hand. Turns out it's all just a misunderstanding. Moo's mom pulls her husband away by the ears, and Prota's freaking out because dad doesn't believe any of this boyfriend business. He's sure Prota's just some punk trying to take advantage of his daughter. Then the parents start arguing. Dad's all, ain't nobody messing up my girl's life, and Prota's sitting there like, man, being a fake boyfriend is way more drama than I signed up for. So he tells Moo they gotta talk for real. He's like, yo, we can't keep lying to your folks. This ain't it. He's trying to get her to just be honest with them. Moo's thinking about it, but then asks Prota to back her up one last time. Meanwhile, outside, her parents think they're fighting, and her mom's whispering, I bet you scared them with that knife, honey. They might break up now, and it's your fault. They're trying to figure out how to keep the relationship alive. Prota, he's already halfway out the door, ready to ghost, because this is just way too much. But just as he's about to bounce, he realizes his shoes are wet. Why? Moo's mom somehow got him soaked. She's like, oh no, he can't leave like that, and then she goes, well, guess he'll have to stay the night. Prota's like, nope. He throws out some goofy excuse and bolts. Moo sees him off with a little smirk. Next day, Prota's back at the market. That guy from before? Yeah, he's still salty because Prota tricked him, lost him some cash, and made him look like an idiot. But Prota? He strolls in cool as ever, asking if the dude went out to the countryside and scored some fancy goods. The guy's all, how the hell did you know? He'd spent all night collecting new stuff, and he's convinced this time he's got some real treasures. He shows Prota a set of porcelain, says he dropped 50 grand on it, swears up and down it's the real deal, probably some Tang Sangkai dynasty stuff. Prota's pretending to be hyped but already knows this stuff's mostly fake. The guy's like, how much you want to pay? Prota lowballs him at first, but then asks if any of it's actually legit. Prota knows it's only 14% legit, but hey, one piece out of the 7 is real. And that one could be worth a fortune. Prota plays it smooth, asks for the whole set. The guy gets suspicious, thinking, am I getting hustled again? And raises the price to 600 grand. Prota jumps on it. Deal done, he rushes off with the whole stash. Then the guy starts second-guessing everything. Maybe there's something real in that set after all. But nah, he brushes it off. Just then, a pink car rolls up, and some chick jumps out asking about the artifacts she sold him last night. She's offering $1 million for them. So the girl sold this guy a bunch of stuff, including some fancy porcelain set that Proda had just picked up. She's like, yo, that set's a big deal to my grandpa. But the guy's all, look, I ain't saying I don't want to sell it back to you. It's just I already passed it on to someone else. Now the girl's totally freaking out, because she doesn't even know which piece of porcelain is the real deal. Wang tries to calm her down, all chill, saying, look, even if that's your grandpa's pride and joy, it's still a fake. He's like, just apologize to your pops and let it go. But she's not having it. It ain't fake. There's a piece in there from the Tang dynasty that's been in my fam for ages. Someone once offered 10 mil for it, and my grandpa wouldn't let it go. Then this vendor next to him butts in, teasing Wang, bro, you sold a bronze cup worth 600 grand for like 2 grand yesterday, and now you let a 10 million porcelain go for chump change. The girl's like, where's the guy who bought it? Meanwhile, Proda's out there showing some old dude the porcelain set he's trying to flip. The old man's all wide-eyed like, wait a minute, I got a porcelain camel just like this at home. Weird, cause that thing's ancient, you know? Then Proda's like, yeah, Wang sold me this set. The old man's gears start turning. Hold up, I thought my granddaughter sold that stuff on the low. It's too much of a coincidence, so Proda does his little psychic thing and yup, the Tang Sankai piece really belongs to the old guy. Proda's thinking maybe Wang pulled a fast one and swiped the piece, but nah. Turns out it was the old man's granddaughter who sold it to Wang. So the old dude's like, that Tang Sankai is gonna go for 12 million at auction, but I'll give you 9 mil for it now. Proda's thinking, hey, 9 mil sounds fair, and plus it's his piece anyway. So they shake on it. The old guy gives Proda his digits in case he finds more treasure in the future, and off Proda goes. As Proda's leaving, the girl from before is bolting toward the place, but he's like, yo, slow down or you're gonna eat pavement. She snaps back, shut up, you're talking nonsense. But guess what? Proda uses his powers, and surprise, surprise, she's Mr. Tai's granddaughter, the same one who sold the Tang Sankai. And just like he said, she almost faceplants, but Proda catches her. She's all, how the hell did you know I was gonna fall? And even though she's telling him to let her go, she's still holding on to him. Proda's about to dip, but she stops him like, you're lucky I'm too busy to deal with you now. Here's my number. We'll settle this later. Easy peasy. Her name's Chiao, by the way. So now Proda's got stacks of cash and he's thinking, should I buy a car or a crib first? But then he bumps into Wang. Wang's like, yo, how much you sell that porcelain set for? Proda just tells him straight up, and Wang, cool as a cucumber, doesn't even flinch. But you can tell Wang's scheming something. Later, Xiao goes to see her grandpa. She sees the porcelain set and tries to bounce, but the old man's like, nah, stay put. Why you visiting all of a sudden? But hey, good timing. I got something to show you. Xiao's thinking, oh crap, I'm late. And he already bought it back. She's sweating. And the old man notices, I know you. Last time you acted like this, you sold my prize porcelain for 10 bucks. Then it clicks for him. She did it again. Xiao's like, Granny, save me, and makes a run for it. The old man's pissed, but Granny comes in just in time to save her. Xiao didn't see things spiraling like this. If she knew, she'd have bought it back before her grandpa caught on. Now Xiao's thinking about what Proda said and starts admitting the guy's got a good eye, catching all this from a distance. Meanwhile, Proda's getting the chills. So he uses his powers and finds out Wang's plotting something, but it's all vague. Proda's like, Wang's either hiring someone to jump me, or he's still trying to hustle more pieces. And it's definitely the second one. But Proda's feeling cocky like, there's no way I'm gonna lose now that I can see all the outcomes. He's thinking, if it wasn't for Xiao messing up, I wouldn't have made bank like this. Selling an antique for pennies? Brutal. The world of the rich is wild, and Proda's also reflecting on all the girls he's met. They're all a bit off, and now he's tangled up with Xiao. Suddenly, Proda's got this wild idea to start predicting gaps in the antique market, so he heads over there and bam, runs into Xiao again. He's like, man, this girl's clueless, but then he spots a shady dude lurking. A thief? Nah, a creep trying to hit on Xiao, so Proda sends her a heads up. Xiao's all, you jinxed it. And Proda's like, I was just trying to help, but whatever. She keeps cussing him out, and Proda's like, next time, I ain't saying nothing. Meanwhile, the creepy guy's still closing in. But before Proda can jump in, Xiao whoops the guy's ass. She's tiny but packs a punch. After all that, Xiao starts wondering if Proda's got some way of seeing stuff no one else can. Proda's trying to sneak out, cause if she finds out he's the one who bought the Tang Sankai, she's coming for him. He's trying to dip fast, thinking maybe he'll make it to the car dealership cause he's trying to get a whip, but nah, no chance. Dude's desperate, standing at the bus stop, wondering why the bus never shows up when you really need it. So Proda's sitting on the bus, stressing out, thinking he's gonna be late because of traffic or some accident, but nah, nothing happens. Still, he's got this bad gut feeling, you know? Then it hits him. What if there's some criminal on the bus? Boom! He spots a crazy dude with gasoline about to torch the whole thing. Proto freaks out and scrambles to call the cops. He's thinking, if this nutjob pulls it off, we're toast. So he calls the cops, straight up like, yo, there's a psycho on this bus with a whole lot of gasoline. The cop on the other end's like, hey, where you at? Proto gives him the deets, tells him this maniac's got about 8 or 9 liters of gas. Cops are like, we're on our way, but then start grilling him. How you know all this? Where'd you get your info from? Proto's thinking, I can't just tell him it's 'cause of my superpower, right? Anyway, cops are coming, but now Proto's gotta figure out who this fire-happy maniac is. That's when he notices Zhao hop on the bus. And of course, Proto's thinking, great, this chick's gonna drag me into even more mess. She's giving him a look while Proto's trying to stay cool and figure out who's carrying the gas. The cops hit him back, saying one of their own's already on the bus, but they don't know who the dude is either. So now Proto's gotta do some detective work. He's scanning the place, looking for anyone with a backpack. Xiao's tailing him too. He spots a guy looking kinda shady, and they lock eyes. Oh no, this dude knows I'm onto him, Proto thinks. Then, Xiao taps Proto on the shoulder like, what you hiding from me for? Proto pulls some dramatic nonsense with Xiao to get the cops' attention, but she ain't playing. She's about ready to clock him. In the chaos, Proto accidentally opens the shady guy's backpack, and, yup, gasoline everywhere. The guy's pissed, and Proto's yelling for the cop. Before anyone can do anything, Xiao steps up and wham, knocks the dude out cold. And guess what? Xiao's been the undercover cop the whole time. She sees all the gas, and Proto's standing there like, wait, what? After the dust settles, Xiao walks over to Proto, asking if he was the one who called the cops. She's curious how he knew all this before it even happened. Proto's sweating like, how do I get out of this one? He tells her, look, I'll spill the beans if you promise to keep it quiet. But he knows he can't just make up some garbage because Xiao's sharp and she's not falling for any nonsense. But Xiao ain't letting this slide. She keeps pushing. How'd you know about the guy on the bus? Proto's like, it was a coincidence, I swear. Just trying to keep the peace, you know? Of course, she's not buying it. She's like, you hadn't even gotten on the bus when you called the cops and you knew exactly how much gasoline the guy had? What's up with that? Proto tries playing it off, saying it was just a lucky guess. Xiao suggests they go have some tea and talk, but Proto's thinking, oh no, she's gonna kidnap me or something. Right then, Mu rolls up her car broke down or something. She sees Proto and asks what's going on. Proto, thinking fast, winks at her and pulls the old I'm your boyfriend card. He starts apologizing in front of everyone for cheating on her, saying Xiao's got nothing to do with it, making a whole scene. People around are leaning in, eating up the drama. He turns to Xiao, acting like she's some stalker, saying, I love Mu, leave us alone. Mu picks up on the act and starts telling Xiao to stop harassing her man. But Xiao, she's not buying this circus. She smacks Proto in the gut before leaving, and even warns Mu to watch out because Proto might be trouble. Proto's doubled over, but relieved the situation cooled off. Mu tells him she only helped because he saved her before, so now they're even. But then right on cue, Kim shows up, thinking Proto's messing with Mu. So, the next day, Proto's cruising in his new ride thinking, if I keep getting caught up with these chicks, I ain't going nowhere in life. So he makes this big decision. No more drama, no more trouble, just focus on stacking that cash in peace. That's what he's really after. Cold, hard cash. He heads back to Antique Street, but guess what? Wong, the chubby dude who usually hooks him up with the good stuff, ain't around. Neighbor tells him Wong went off to the countryside for some buys. No big deal, right? Proto figures he can still browse some other stalls. But nah, the system's like, forget about it. Nothing worth a dime today. Says there's a 100% chance he's walking out empty-handed. Proto's like, what the hell? Yesterday was different. Still, he decides to take a look, not knowing Kim's tailing him the whole time. After a few minutes of looking, Proto finally finds a real gem at some old dude's stall. The guy's asking $3,000 for it, or he'll knock off 5%. Proto, with no shame, goes, how about 50% off? The old man agrees right away, no clue it's the real deal. Proto's about to close the deal thinking the system never lies when Kim shows up and offers the full $3,000. The old man, of course, takes her offer in a heartbeat. Proto's trying to argue, I was here first, man, and bumps his offer to $10,000. Kim, cool as ice, raises it to $30,000. Now the stall owner's getting wise, knowing this thing's valuable, so Proto's like, fine, $50,000, and tells Kim, if you go higher, it's yours. Kim doesn't even blink and goes $100,000. Proto realizes there's no winning. She's just playing with him at this point. So he taps out, letting her have it, because he ain't stupid enough to get into an ego fight over this. The old man hands it to Kim, and she quickly figures out it's a legit Ming Dynasty piece. She's like, you've got a good eye for this stuff. Then she starts following Proda around, sabotaging every deal he tries to make. She's doing it just to mess with him, but nobody's calling her out. She even says she can outbid him or buy something fake just for fun. She doesn't care, she's got the dough. Kim's done her homework too. She's looking into Proda's life, saying his new car seems a little sketchy. Proda's all, nah, I earned that money fair and square, no funny business. But Kim's like, yeah, sure. Last time we met, you said you could calculate stuff. She's digging into his background, finds out Proda's just some regular guy with nothing special going for him. She's like, I don't know what tricks you're pulling, but you ain't making it big. Then she straight up threatens him, saying she's gonna block him from making money from now on, and he ain't getting away with it. Proda's thinking, this girl's nuts, but he plays it cool, tells her, I don't care how much you mess with me, you ain't stopping me from making money. Kim shoots back like, if you think you're making a single cent, you're dreaming. I'll outbid you every time. And sure enough, every stall Proda goes to, she jumps in and starts raising the price just to screw with him. Proda wanders from stall to stall, but doesn't buy nothing. Kim gets curious like, what's this guy up to? He's just chatting with the vendors, no purchases in sight. Then Proda checks the system and it's like 100% success rate. So he tells the vendors, I'm buying out your whole shop before she does. Kim thinks he's joking, but when he's about to close a deal, she jumps in again, trying to buy everything herself. Proda's like, take it easy, will ya? But she's determined, remember? She already warned him she wasn't letting him make a cent. Proda's arguing, there's too much stuff here, you're just barking louder than you can bite. Kim, feeling challenged, starts buying everything in sight, even asking for an extra 10% discount. She's ordering the vendor to hurry up and deliver the goods, and the vendor's like, where's all this going anyway? Kim, mocking Proda, says even though he's got good instincts, she's still outsmarting him. But Proda's smirking, cause it's all going just like he planned. He'd already cut a deal with the vendors to split the money 50-50. Some of them already wired the cash to him behind Kim's back. Kim realizes she's been played and she's furious. Proda's just sitting there grinning, cause he pulled a fast one. She storms off fuming, and Proda's laughing, shouting after her, don't run, take it easy. And just like that, Proda gets a system update right on cue. So even though Proda's stacked up some decent cash, he's still sweating over what Kim and her fancy family might pull next. Yeah, the system got an update, but so far, nothing useful. He's thinking, when's this thing gonna start showing me some new tricks? Guess he'll find out soon enough. Right now, he's got the skills, the muscle, but he ain't hanging with the big dogs yet. He knows if he wants more paper, he's got to rub elbows with the rich folks. The problem is, how's he gonna do that? Then out of nowhere, some guy strolls up to him. Turns out it's Kim's butler. Proda's like, what, she sent you to babysit me now? But nah, the butler says Kim wants to invite him to some celebrity shindig as a way to, apologize for screwing with him earlier. Proda's feeling kinda weird about it. Kim doesn't seem like the apologizing type, but hey, if it's legit, he might get to meet some loaded folks. That's a shot he can't pass up, so he's in. An hour later, Proda rolls up to the party. Kim's there, acting all friendly, and starts introducing him to a bunch of big shots. There's young Master Wang, who's gonna run Shinhai Group, Ju, who owns StarTech, and Lu, the head honcho at Ev Media. These guys are A-list, and Proda's feeling a little out of place. Kim, of course, sees him sweating and laughs her head off. She knew he'd be nervous, and she's loving every second of it. Proda's trying to keep it together, thinking, if I don't chill out, I'm gonna look like an idiot. So he pulls a little mental trick, starts imagining these hotshot dudes taking bathroom breaks like regular folks. That calms him down a bit. He shakes it off, introduces himself, and Kim's looking surprised like, who's this new guy all of a sudden? 5 minutes later, they're sitting around, and Kim's like, I gotta admit, you're holding your own with these celebs, huh? Proda, feeling himself now, goes, hey, celebrities, regular people, it's all the same to me. But Kim smirks, saying, just wait, you'll see the difference soon enough. Then someone kicks off the auction. It's for charity. Kim's got this fancy Ming Dynasty dish she wants to auction off. She hands it to Proda, saying, hey, you're the antique expert. Go ahead and show off. This is your chance to impress. Proda's like, this is too good to be true. Why's Kim being so nice all of a sudden? She tells him she's done beefing with him, but Proda ain't buying it. He's thinking, she's definitely plotting something. Is the dish fake? Nope. It's the real deal. Recently sold for like 12.5 million. The system says the auction's gonna be a hit, so what could go wrong? Proda figures, even if Kim's scheming, he's still got the system backing him up, so he agrees to play along. Fast forward to the last lot of the auction. Proda's about to present the dish when he catches Kim giving him a weird look. His gut's telling him something shady's going down, so he's trying to figure out her angle. He goes to show off the dish, and bam! It's a freaking roll of toilet paper. The room goes dead silent. People are like, is this dude seriously trying to auction off toilet paper? Prota's standing there like, great, how'd she pull the switch? Then he remembers earlier she dropped an earring, and while he was picking it up, she swapped the boxes. Slick. Some bald guy yells, if you gotta use the John, do it, but stop wasting our time. Kim's just sitting there enjoying the chaos. Prota's thinking, I can't just bail. If I walk off now, she'll never let me live this down. So he's gotta think fast. People start heckling him, saying he should leave if he's got nothing to show. The bald dude's getting louder, telling him to scram. But Prota ain't backing down that easy. He remembers the system saying there's a 100% success rate, so he's sure there's a way out of this. Then boom, it hits him. He's got a way with stories, so he decides to spin one right there on the spot. He grabs the mic and says, yeah, this might look like just a roll of toilet paper, but to me, it's priceless. Kim's grin starts to fade as Prota lays it on thick. He tells this sob story about how, when he was a kid, he'd cry all the time, and his parents gave him a roll of toilet paper to wipe his tears. Then, out of nowhere, they passed away, and that roll of TP was the only thing he had left. Total BS, of course, but he's selling it. He keeps going, talking about how every time he wanted to cry, he'd look at that roll and remember he had to stay strong. So today, I'm auctioning off the most important roll of toilet paper in my life, for charity. Kim's looking pissed now, and wouldn't you know, some guy pipes up and offers 100 grand for it. Just like that, Prota seals the deal. Auction's over and Prota walks away with a win. He used his quick wit and storytelling chops to pull it off. Kim's fuming, but she throws him a parting shot. You got lucky this time, but next time won't be so easy. Yeah, Prota saved his rep, but mingling with the celebs? That didn't really work out. He knows most folks still see him as a clown, and with Kim bouncing, nobody else is paying him much attention. Prota knows the grind ain't over. If he wants status and respect, he's gotta keep stacking that paper. Out of nowhere, the guy who bought the toilet paper rolls up in a car, Moo's driving, and Prota's like, wait, what's she doing with him? So Prota gets a ping from the system, telling him that Moo and that dude she's with are getting hitched and teaming up in business. He's like, what's up with this system suddenly being a genius? Must be the update kicking in or something. Now he's starting to get why Moo treated Kim like garbage. Honestly, the rich people's world is a real circus. And he's not trying to join the freak show anymore. He just wants to hustle in peace and stack some cash. So he figures he needs an assistant in the antique game, the only scene he really knows. Even with all this mess, he misses Wong and wonders if he scored any cool stuff lately. The system chirps in and says, oh yeah, Wong's got some treasures. But Prota thinks it's a bit odd that Wong always seems to have the good stuff and rakes in the dough. He starts scheming about teaming up with him. Wong's a whiz in antiques, and it'd be awesome to have him on the team. Next day, Prota heads over to find Wong. Wong's all, I got nothing to sell. Prota's trying to keep it cool, saying he just wants to chat about a potential partnership. Since Wong's got a knack for finding the good stuff and Prota can sniff out the fakes, they could be a killer combo. Prota's pushing for a 50-50 split, but Wang, already kinda irritated, shoots back, why the hell would I need you? I've been doing this forever, I know what I'm doing. He doesn't trust Prota and thinks he's just there to embarrass him again, so he tells him to scram. Prota's not keen on pissing Wang off more, so he decides to play it cool and thinks he'll catch him on the next round. As he's about to head out, he spots two guys rolling up to see Wong, and he wonders if they're buying or selling something. Turns out they're packing a 7-star sword. Prota's like, that sword gotta be real, right? Spoiler alert, it's not. These clowns are trying to pull a fast one on Wang. He thinks, Wong probably won't see through their little scam, but he ain't gonna let that fly. He starts looking at the sword, thinking the gem's the fake, but he's gotta wonder, if he calls it out, will Wong even believe him? Prota decides to step in, saying, yo, fellas are trying to pull a fast one on you, but that sword looks real to me. Wong checks it out, thinking it's all good. He starts showing off, bragging about how he knows his stuff. He figures Prota's looking to buy the sword and gets all hot under the collar. Prota's like, how about this? If I prove it's fake, you gotta team up with me. Wong's not having it, so Prota asks how much they want for the sword. 500 grand. Prota's like, if I'm wrong, I'll cough up 10 times that amount. Wong hands the sword over to Prota, wanting him to show why he thinks it's a fake. Prota takes the sword, gives it a once-over, grabs something and smacks the gem, leaving everyone gaping like fish. The gem pops right out, and Wong's fuming. But Prota knows what he's doing. Underneath the gem, there's a QR code that screams, "This sword's a fake!" Prota's like, "So you think we can partner up now?" Wong's ready to hunt down those two jokers who tried to scam him, but they're already booking it. Then Wong starts grilling Prota, asking how he knew the sword was fake. He gets suspicious and thinks Prota hired those guys to mess with him. Prota shoots back, "If I had a real 7-star sword, I wouldn't be trying to team up with you in the first place." Prota asks if Wong wants the scoop on how he figured it out, but Wong's too bummed to even listen. They were close to sealing the deal, but Wong's thinking Prota might sell the goods down the line, so he tells him to find someone else. Wong's been in the game forever, and he's learned the hard way. Trust no one. He tells Prota to forget about the partnership, but he can take something as a thank you for helping out. Prota's like, "What you got that's good?" Wong pulls out this robe that Master Xuanzang wore back in the day when he was learning to write, but it's got a bunch of cigarette burns. Prota's like, "Where'd you get that trash?" Then Wong digs up a bowl that looks like it came from a dive diner. Prota's thinking, this junk ain't worth nothing, even though the system said he could score valuable items from Wong. Then Wong pulls out a double sword that's supposedly from Liu Bei and Liu Xiuwen from the Three Kingdoms. The system confirms it's 100% legit, but Wong's like, "Nah, can't give this away. It's too valuable." Prota's like, "Come on, that sword's gotta be fake too, just like the 7-star one." Wang's all, "No way, man. This one's full of details." Prota remembers Wong said the same thing about the 7-star sword and suggests this one probably has a QR code too. Wong's still convinced it's real, but now he's looking real sad. Prota keeps pushing, saying it's a fake, and finally Wang's like, "Fine, let's break it." Prota's like, "Wait a sec, I want that sword." Wong promised he could take anything as a reward, so if Prota wants the sword, he won't fight it since Prota made him think it was fake. Prota thanks him for the sword, but can't help but think Wong looks like a sad sack. He knows he's got to turn a profit for Wang or he's gonna feel like dirt. So, Prota's thinking about tracking down that old man in the antique circle, since the whole celebrity party thing didn't cut it. With this sword, he can try to earn some respect from the old-timer, but he's really hoping he won't run into that girl again. Prota strolls in and asks about Mr. Chi. The young lady says he's busy and can't see anyone right now. Prota's like, if Mr. Chi knew I was here, he'd come chat? Turns out the system answers yes. So Prota tells the lady to let him know the guy who sold the Tang Sankai is back in town. Just then, he hears that familiar voice. Oh great, it's that girl who knows he sold the Tang Sankai to her grandpa. She's looking to teach him a lesson, and he gets a notification from the system saying he's about to take 100% damage. She lunges at him, but he ducks out of the way like a pro. She grabs a vase, ready to hurl it at him, but just then, Mr. Chi swoops in, laying down the law. He tells her to go home and think about her life choices. She storms off, but throws Prota a little threat for good measure. He thinks he's finally rid of her, but he knows she's not just gonna let this slide. Mr. Chi tells Prota not to sweat it, saying Xiao's a good kid, just not the sharpest tool in the shed. Prota's picking up on some vibes that Mr. Chi's got something weighing on him, but the system's still only crunching numbers and can't read minds. Looks like it's time for an update. Mr. Chi invites him for tea and a chat, and Prota thinks, nice digs you got here, old man. Mr. Chi gets right to the point, asking if Prota's got any treasures to share. Prota whips out the sword, and Mr. Chi's eyes light up like it's Christmas morning. He recognizes it immediately as a treasure from the Eastern Han Dynasty. Prota's all, listen, Mr. Chi, I didn't want to waste your time with anything basic, so I brought you a sword that's really something special. Mr. Chi drops some knowledge, saying swords like this usually fetch about 5 million at auction. Prota throws in that this sword was used by Liu Bei, and Mr. Chi's like, oh, that bumps the price up tenfold. Prota's thinking the sword deserves a good home and the new generation ought to show some respect. Mr. Chi's like, if you sold this to some foreigner, you'd be swimming in cash. But Prota insists that Mr. Chi's the only one who deserves this treasure, and he's not interested in jacking up the price. From Mr. Chi's face, Prota can tell he's not feeling the sword, or maybe just not feeling Prota. Satisfaction with the sword is a solid 100%, but with Prota, only a measly 10%. Mr. Chi thinks the gift's a bit over the top and says he prefers making friends for personality and skill, not just for flashy gifts. Prota's like, ouch, that's a rejection. He gets the vibe that Mr. Chi thinks he's not worthy of being his friend. Mr. Chi tells him, if you find something else down the road, you can bring it by, and I won't treat you like a loser. Prota thought he was making a buddy by offering the sword, but it turns out he's got to show he's got real skills to even be considered. He's not given up, so he reminds Mr. Chi that he said swords used by Liu Bei would go for 50 million. Mr. Chi raises an eyebrow, asking if Prota's sure it's from Liu Bei. Prota nods and he's like, You're probably wondering how I know this, right? Proda explains that, yeah, he's just an average Joe, but he picked up some skills in divination calculations. Mr. Chi's intrigued and asks if he's really got the chops. Proda's like, yeah, not just with antiques, but with other stuff too. For instance, right now, Xiao's outside the window trying to eavesdrop on him. And guess what? She's really out there. Mr. Chi gets up to check, and Proda's just laughing at her. She bails before she hears what her grandpa's gonna say. Then Proda turns to Mr. Chi, asking if he believes him now. Nope. Mr. Chi's still not buying it. He thinks Proda just heard some rustling and guessed it was Xiao. That's not cutting it for Mr. Chi. Proda realizes dealing with this old-timer is a whole mess, so he asks how he can convince him. If he doesn't figure something out soon, he might lose his shot at working together. He asks what his odds are of persuading Mr. Chi. The system's like, pretty high. So Proda decides it's time to strut his stuff. He starts breaking down the antiques in the room. He says there are 26 pieces in total. Mr. Chi's like, duh, that's kinda obvious. No need to guess that. But Proda's all, hold up, listen closely. He activates the system to get a deep dive on each antique. First, he mentions a set of sandalwood utensils that's worth about 20 million. He gets it right, but Mr. Chi's still not impressed. Then he mentions a black jade platform from the Ming Dynasty, valued at 5 million. Next up, he talks about a black jade inkstone that was supposedly used by Zhang Zhejiang, a chief assistant from the Ming Dynasty. Mr. Chi's blown away, asking how Proda figured that out, because it took them 2 years and a bunch of dusty old books to piece it together. Proda's like, no biggie, but I got more, so sit tight. He rolls on about a toilet brush holder from Emperor Jia Qing's time, which is really just a Republic of China object. But he keeps spilling the tea on other items, from a bronze jar to some blue and white porcelain. After he runs through all 26 antiques, he turns to Mr. Chi and goes, so still doubting my skills? Mr. Chi's finally like, okay, I believe you now. Proda reminds him about the sword used by Liu Bei. Mr. Chi's impressed with Proda's smarts, but he's still skeptical about the sword. He's done some homework on the origins of the stuff in his place, but he can't prove that sword belonged to Liu Bei, so he's thinking it's risky to say for sure. He's still got doubts. Maybe he wants to ask Proda for a favor or help with something. And guess what? That's exactly it. Mr. Chi got schooled by Proda, but now he's pulling some tricks of his own. Proda's watching Mr. Chi closely and sees he's worried about antiques. Mr. Chi wants Proda to verify the authenticity of an object. Proda jumps at the chance and says he can spot anything Mr. Chi throws at him. The old man's impressed and asks, how'd you know that? The old dude realizes he's in a bind and has to admit that Proda knows his stuff. He's grumpy about an antique he just bought and wants Proda to check if it's the real deal. Proda's thinking, this is my chance to win this old guy over. So he agrees and swears he'll give it his best shot. Mr. Chi takes him down to this huge basement packed with treasures that need a little TLC. He tells Proda about this fancy blue and white vase with 9 dragons, made with some serious skill. Proda's like, okay, this guy actually knows his antiques, unlike that other joker Wang. Mr. Chi pops open the safe and pulls out the vase, looking all uneasy. He admits he's had a bad feeling about it and hasn't finalized the deal yet. If Proda can tell if it's real, he'll officially buy it, and either way, he'll toss Proda a sweet 10 million for his trouble. Proda wonders if Mr. Chi thinks he's just in it for the cash, and the system picks up on that vibe too. But Proda's ambitions are way bigger. The vase is behind another safe, and when he finally gets a look at it, he's blown away by how beautiful it is. Turns out that 9-dragon vase is worth a whopping 1.3 billion. Proda tells Mr. Chi he'll do his best, but needs to check it out first. But the system's not giving him much help. It only analyzes the questions he asks. So, he cuts to the chase and asks if the vase is real or fake. The answer? 100% fake. The system goes into overdrive, analyzing the details. Proda's thinking about the odds. Even though he knows it's fake, if he smashes it, there's only a 4% chance of success, and if he wrecks the evidence, he's toast. He asks the system if a regular Joe could figure out the vase is fake. The odds are super low, basically impossible for your average guy to spot it. Not even Mr. Chi could figure it out, so smashing the vase could land him in hot water. But if he doesn't break it, he won't be able to show off his skills, and Mr. Chi might stop trusting him altogether. So Proda straight up tells Mr. Chi the vase is fake. Mr. Chi's like, prove it. Proda says the proof's at the bottom, so Mr. Chi takes a peek but sees nothing. The evidence is still stuck down there. Mr. Chi starts to catch on that Proda's thinking about breaking the thing to show it's fake. He's not too keen on that idea. Since the deal's not sealed, the vase technically isn't Mr. Chi's yet. Breaking it is crucial. Proda feels a pit in his stomach just thinking about destroying it. but he knows he has to take the plunge. He asks Mr. Chi to call the vase's owner, Mr. Zhang, to handle things face to face. Zhang rolls up quick, asking why Mr. Chi called him. Prota's ready to throw down and hits him with the bombshell. "I think you're selling fake antiques." Zhang gets mad, like, "Who do you think you are?" Prota gets straight to the point and tells him the vase is a fake. Zhang tries to backpedal, claiming a bunch of experts said it's real. Then he dares Prota to point out what's wrong with it. Prota realizes Zhang's so cocky about the fraud, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. He suggests that the only way to prove it is to break the vase. Zhang freaks out, trying to cancel the deal, which only gives Prota more reasons to insist it's fake. Prota picks up on Zhang's aggressive reaction and knows he's selling a dud. Without thinking twice, he smashes the vase, leaving both of them slack-jawed. Zhang starts scolding Mr. Chi for not giving him a heads up about Prota's plan. But Mr. Chi knows that if Prota doesn't find the proof, he could be in deep trouble. Prota's realized that if he messes this up, money's the least of his worries. It's his rep with Mr. Chi that's on the line. Mr. Chi tells Prota if he can prove the vase is fake, he'll have a word with Zhang. Prota doesn't want to disappoint Mr. Chi, so he gets to work. He starts looking through the broken pieces for any signs. The system kicks in, and Prota's wondering if he should whack it with a hammer to find the flaw since it's porcelain, and it's hard to tell where to hit. The system warns him that if he swings too hard, there's only a 58% chance of actually breaking the flaw. That's risky biz. So he tones it down, and now the chance drops to 13%. Prota knows he needs to hustle. Time's ticking, and if he doesn't pull this off, Mr. Chi's never gonna trust him again. Zhang starts chirping at Mr. Chi, saying the vase ain't fake, and Prota only broke it because of Mr. Chi. He's claiming all sorts of companies were eyeing that vase, and now it's in pieces. Mr. Chi's like, "I'll give you a fat check if Prota screws this up." Prota keeps searching. If he doesn't find the flaw, how's he gonna explain that to Mr. Chi? In a panic, he starts pounding on the remains of the vase until he finally breaks through. He went a bit too hard, but luckily, a small piece is still intact. He holds it up for Mr. Chi and Zhang to see. It's a QR code! Mr. Chi immediately demands answers from Zhang, who gets carted off shortly after. Prota made it out alive. He remembers Wang's busted knife also had a QR code. Maybe these fakes all come from the same shady source. Mr. Chi thanks Prota for his hustle and hands him his business card, saying they're practically family now. Prota's feeling honored and pumped to have Mr. Chi in his corner. He scored $50 million for the antique and another $10 million for the divination gig. Plus, he made a buddy in Mr. Chi and exposed a ridiculous fake vase. Now he's got to help Wang with his business next. That's a wrap, folks. Hit subscribe and smash that like button if you're down for more. I'll keep bringing you the detailed vids, no skips, no cuts. Catch you later.